Hi guys, I thought I'd just do a quick roundup of the tournament I hosted recently, Filthy Hobbitses. Hi guys, so here's the final results. So it should still be on Longshanks. So at the top we've got Mr. Cameron Bell with Wolves of Isengard. So yes, I mean obviously in the preview I ripped on Wolves of Isengard and suggested it may not be the most competitive list and that Sharku is a bit of a bitch. Yeah, I'm just gonna go with Cameron must just be the best player going to make it work, and I couldn't possibly be wrong about that sort of thing. So anyway, moving on. It was interesting that no one got 100%, 100% on the old wins. Obviously, Cam won with the draw as well, so all the top three getting 3 wins in the draw, which is interesting. But we can see we'll sort of explain it a bit when we have a quick roundup of all the different rounds. Obviously, Cam was actually smashing it on the victory points. So I think this is VP difference. So he actually scored 29, and the opponents only scored 1 VP against him, which is ridiculous. So yeah, well done, Cam. Not too many surprises, apart from Wolves of Isengard maybe. So obviously got Goblin Town does very well at 400. Jordan's list is quite spicy. I think we're seeing a bit more of this actually. Just tin cans maxing out on crossbows. That seems to be quite effective. Survivors of Lake Town obviously also very good. And sort of moving on, you can see fell beings of Mirkwood and bits of Dol all doing fairly well. It's good to see Kingdom of Khazad-dûm getting in there as well. There's nothing sort of too surprising really. And as you sort of head down the list, it kind of the more swingy lists. So obviously the monster lists of Radagast Alliance and Fanghorn. Obviously close to the bottom. Blackgate opens as well. I think probably does a bit better at higher points. So I don't think there's anything too surprising. I did expect Arnold to do a bit better, but I wonder if that's a points issue, where again, kind of, he could have won 600 plus maybe. I'm not sure, to get Malbeth the captain and then all the tin cans and stuff in there. So I mean, not too many surprises, but some good results for some and less good for others. Again, this is Tom Rice, who's on the channel quite a lot. So winning his first ever tournament game, not too shabby. I think it actually might be a rematch, because I think in our local club league, Ruth and Tom played recently. So grudge match there. I think one of the notable things here was just looking for it. I kind of expected Nat and Dale to be fighting out for the podium. I thought that there'd be I was sort of looking at names, and I thought these two would probably appear near the top because they both got good lists and both good players. So I thought this matchup round one was actually quite important, because it's almost like a podium game round one, sort of settle that. So that was interesting, but not too many other surprises. And then again going to round two, Aragorn the pointy sword of doom sticking it to some trees, and again Lake Town doing well, again not too surprising. Just to go over the first round was vetoing from pool 3. So those are the object scenario, so seize the prize, destroy the supplies, and retrieval. So that's quite interesting. I believe that the next one was pool 2, so I think these were the hold objective scenarios. So again, not surprising, Goblin Town doing well there. Again, that continuing his march to the podium. and 12-0 from Cam. Oof. Oof. Again, a Great Bear, Oddlocks and the Great Bear GBHL team grudge match. Daddy Bear versus Charlie Simpson. I think it was a relatively close game, but I think they were playing. In fact, this was Pool 6 because I remember they were playing Fog of War. I think trying to, because obviously the dwarves had difficulty getting across the table to grab the objectives. So at this point, it was Mr. Jagger who was top of the table, which was interesting. Yeah, so he's doing very well with bits of dog order and Azog just bonking stuff on the head. And then, this was a surprise, 12-0 Daddy Bear. Glorious captain just going down in absolute flames. Because again, I thought that Mr. Smith would be contender for a podium. But I think this is one of those things where I think something that was unlikely to happen happened, in that I think Spider Queen came in. I think it was a heroic combat of some kind. Obviously I wasn't able to watch the whole thing because I was busy doing my thing. I believe there was a hurl in which the chieftain on chariot got thrown into the king on chariot, dismounted him, but the hurl killed the chieftain or the charioteer, I can't remember what it is, which meant the combat went off, which meant the Spider Queen then got into the king and then munched him. So I think it was almost immediately the two chariots down, and then it sounded like it was downhill from there. So that was capture and control. So, oh yes, this was the pool 2 stuff. Yes, excellent. Good people putting down the scenarios. Yes, so this one I remember now because I remember watching this and seeing Goblin Town on the hold objective scenario. Very nasty. Again, I think this is Nat's first defeat because I think it was near the top of the table. Near the top of the leaderboard. So I think this, I think Nat's Orcs just basically went down to Goblins, and I think the Goblins just ground out the Orcs, it sounded like. So it's just one of those where if all your Orcs die, it doesn't really matter what the Spider Queen and Razgush are doing. But so that was surprising. Warhammer 2 is downloaded, ready to play. I'm not ready to splash out Warhammer 3, so I just feel like it's not worth 50 quid. So again, not too many surprises down here. Mr. Gonzalez, I love I've got scouts at 400, but letting the side down with a defeat there. Sad times. Again, Jordan on his march to the podium. Again, not too much else. I think Dale doing well. I watched the first part of the first turn of this, and I think Tom did had a mistake, which I think people tend to do once, which is he deployed, but I think he won the priority move, and then left either an archer or a spearman within 10 inches of Azog, and then I think Azog then basically combated off him for free, and then just went and bonked his Mahud chief and Suladan on the head, and I think that was GG at that point. Obviously being first tourney, that kind of thing happens, and normally it happens once and then you never ever do it again. So we go to the bottom just to so Tom Payne marching back up the table there, determined not to spoon. I think Arrestor was doing the work this game, if I recall correctly. And again, Omar edging out the breaking of the fellowship. So all these scenarios were pool 4, the killy ones. So to the death contest and lords. Again, this was an interesting one. I didn't get to see it. Problem is, I'm kind of dipping in and out of every single game. So I'm sort of going off doing TO admin stuff, coming back watching stuff, and then chatting to people. So I kind of catch bits. But I seem to recall there were a couple of crossbow gun lines, and then last thing I saw, the spider and stuff was getting involved, but then I didn't watch the rest of it, so it must have gone well. and Mr. Jago continuing his march from the top of the leaderboard to the mid-table. Again, I sort of watched this one when Khand were getting surrounded by orcs, and it kind of looked like curtains, and then next thing I knew I came back and there was a lot of dead orcs everywhere and Khand was winning. So yeah, and again this is another important one because two good players, so it's two people I had thought might be podiuming, but I think at this point they both lost one. Obviously Nat finished losing two. I think Nat had a few tough opponents this game and a few dice issues, so I think that's, yeah. But I think Fell Beasts are being retired now. And then, oh, this was amazing. I think this was the spoon match, and it's funny because obviously when you have Fanghorn and Eagles, it's sort of like, oh, great objective-based scenarios. And I think we had an hold objective and then object scenarios, so both a bit dicey. And they must have both been really pleased when we were like, oh, kill the enemy scenarios. And then they got the match of Fanghorn against the Eagles. There's like 6 models on the table. I think we worked out that the trees could hurl the Eagles, but not the other way around because the Eagles have lower strength. So that's kind of hilarious. Yeah, and then it looks like Dale just absolutely slapped Mr. Murphy, which is revenge for his slapping Mr. Rice. So I'd say that's karma. Yeah, again, nothing too outlandish here. Oh yeah, I watched a bit of that game, but it looked like the impact hits didn't quite do what they needed to do with the camels, and then dwarves being dwarves just sort of ground out the game by the look of it. Yeah, so that's all. So we've got so last game, basically if Cam drew he would win. If Elliot, and actually if Cam lost he would probably still podium because he'd be on 3 wins with the most VPs. So Cam had to at least draw to win the event, or yeah, or if he lost he'd still probably podium, so he'd kind of secured the podium at this point. I think Elliot was a bit more precarious in that he had to win to outright win the tournament. So I think these two are the only ones on 3 wins at this point. Or if he drew he'd probably still podium. If he lost he probably wouldn't podium, I think. So I think Cam had the advantage. I think they were playing to the death. I can't recall, to be honest, but it was basically very few models died. I think it was mostly wargs skirmishing and just sort of staying out of charge range and just sort of throwing spears and shooting bows at goblins, trying to win that way. There's not really too much to say, to be honest. I think that's kind of just what the game was, is goblins running around after wargs, and wargs just, playing avoidance. And to be fair, it looked like Cam was doing a very good job skirmishing and making sure he placed everything right, because I'm not sure he even lost many models at all. I think Elliot lost a few, but nothing substantial. So that one went to time 0-0. So it's clearly match fixing, Daventroversy, that's what I'm calling it. So it's obviously nonsense of the highest order. No, it's I think they both played it how they needed to. So Cam obviously needed to skirmish and play avoidance just to win the tournament, and if he was going to charge in, I think there's a high probability he'd lose, because Elliot's obviously got the king, a whole load of goblins, a scribe and golem, so I think he probably has the tools to withstand an initial charge and then do some hurls with the king, or whatever. But it's just basically a high risk strategy for Cam, I think, so it made sense to do what he was doing. And likewise, I think Elliot just played it right in trying to move forwards and close Cam down when he could, and then sort of running out of spear range when he had to as well. So I think basically they both just played it right, and that's just how it ended up, really. So it looked like a good game. It looked it's sort of like one of those like football games that ends like 0-0, but is actually quite interesting. So it can happen. Because I know loads about football, obviously. But yeah, so that's how it sort of ended up. So 80 yummy points for Goldilocks there. So that's cool. So that's sort of roughly how the games went. I've kind of realised I've waffled on a bit. Sort of turning to overall feedback. I think the feedback's actually really good. Quite a lot of you have done the form, which is really good. Yeah, overall people were happy with the ticket price and the prizes. That was sort of entirely sort of very positive feedback. I think, well, to be honest, it was all broadly quite positive. I think the worst I scored was neutral on a couple of things, but still say that's good overall. So I suppose there's sort of things to take away. In that I'm not really one to raise my voice unless I'm shouting at my dogs because they're rolling in feces, or I'm stuck in traffic, or someone cut me up in the car and I lose my bananas, which does happen quite a lot. So I think I need to channel that energy into shouting out the rounds and what scenario we're playing and when we're going to time. So I think running around telling everyone was a bit exhausting. I think the problem is sometimes when I shout, nobody listens, and also my voice cracks, and then it undermines my authority. But I think I've just got to channel that sort of rage that's always bubbling underneath, just underneath the surface. Channel some of that, shout at some people, let everyone know what's going on. Fine, I think that's good feedback actually. I kind of felt myself doing it. It was a bit cringe when I was just sort of scurrying around like, oh guys, you've got 5 minutes. I think let's just learn to shout at people, keep them in line. Visible timer. We had timers on Longshanks, and also obviously, the timetable in the tournament pack. So we had those available, but point taken. I didn't think about it too much, but thinking on it now, when I play tournaments, I like being able to just have a glance and be like, yeah, cool, I've got 38 minutes left or something. So I think that's actually quite a big thing. I definitely have a projector there, but yeah, probably be a case of me getting a laptop and just putting timer on it or something on the screen and sort of trying to do it that way. That's good feedback. That's the type of thing I didn't think of, and remembering to roll pools, that's just a really obvious one. I'd sort of set the tables and everyone crack on. They'd be like, well, what are we playing? And I'd be like, oh, I need to, that's literally why I'm here, isn't it? Is to sort that out. So I think rolling the pools. I've seen some people sort of post stuff on Facebook as well, like every round, like what we're doing, and that could be helpful as well when people are not in the room, so I don't have to shout constantly. So I think just doing that, just a little thing. Terrain, I think feedback was positive overall. I'm aware that there was one table that was a bit crap. It was the desert table. That was one of the store tables, and that's pretty much because I was running out of time and to set up the table. So I think I finished setting them up sort of about 5 minutes before the event started. So I think I need to arrive another 15 minutes early, but I'd sort of had several child-related disasters that kind of meant I was running sort of 10 minutes behind what I wanted to be. That's fine, it all got sorted and stuff. It just kind of meant the table on the end was a bit sparse. I've had feedback that a couple of tables could use more terrain. I've also had feedback a couple of tables could use less terrain. And then obviously there wasn't much controversy about Weathertop. I think last time people were just like, oh, it's an annoying table. But I think because it's GBHL 80, I don't regret bringing Weathertop because it's a bit different. And also because we're low models, 400, I think more terrain is better. And I'd rather have a table that looks good and kind of looks like the sort of real place. So like Amon Hen, that table, I know I have it very terrain heavy. There's woodland, so I'm a bit like, actually I like that. I'm trying to think of some other ones. My two tables with ruins on them have a fair amount of terrain on them as well, and there's a couple of others, but I think a lot of terrain actually benefits at lower points. I think when you have more models, you want it a bit more sparse just so you can manoeuvre things around, but it's like if you've got 20 models, then actually having a fair amount of terrain on the table isn't too bad. And I kind of get there's this thing about making sure you don't disadvantage shooting or cavalry or stuff like that, but I don't know, it's a fine balance I think, because if you sort of say, well, I'm going to make the tables a bit more sparse and firstly they can look really shit, and secondly, then you're kind of, all the shooting people are gonna, be thinking all their Christmases came at once, and all the sort of sneaking around people are going to be like, well, what am I supposed to sneak around? So I don't know. I feel like I got the balance right. I don't think I would change anything, but certainly feedback I'd probably keep an eye on in subsequent events. Timings. I think overall my timings were good. I think it's just mainly this shouting at people thing. That's, so I think overall it worked well. I liked the 4 minutes left, don't start a new round, and then after 5 minutes dice down. It kind of kept the timings tight, and that was again some of the feedback. So I quite like that as a system. Yeah, I think I was quite pleased with that. I know some people were struggling to get their sort of just eat orders and stuff in time for lunch, but so I think we had 45 minutes. I would consider making that longer, but I think the trouble is I like a 15-minute break between games, because obviously each game can overrun by up to 5 minutes, and then there's a bit of farting around and milling around and then setting up the new games and stuff. And I think I like the 15-minute gap between games. It just kind of helps me keep to time, because what I don't want to do is leave a 5-minute gap and then we're just perpetually running late and then we have to cut lunch short anyway. So yeah, I don't know. I think I'm pleased overall with it. So I think I might just sort of say people should stick an order in during their second game, maybe. Like, someone will finish early in a big group and then they can sort of stick an order in or something, maybe. But again, it's probably feedback to take a look at. The venue was very well received. I quite like Battlefield Hobbies. I used to go more regularly before COVID, but now it's just sort of finding the time to go really more than anything. But it's a nice shop and the people there are very cool. Yeah, a couple of people said they got a bit sweaty in the afternoon, which I obviously didn't notice because I wasn't playing. I got sweaty putting stuff away, but that's more because I was keen to chuck everything in the car and go to the pub. So I thought that might be because of that. I actually think that there's not anything I can really do about it other than crack a window open, but I think if I was looking at running another event here, I'd probably aim for spring. It's probably the best I could do is just not having it there in the summer, so not everyone gets sweaty. Yeah, and I think the last thing is just a bit more preparation about most sporting and best painted. Just making sure I've got in the rules pack that painting stuff is at lunch. I think it all went off well in the end, but there was a bit of me sort of farting around telling everyone to put their armies out, whereas it's just something I didn't think to put in the pack, really, because you go to all these tournaments and it's always at lunch, but obviously you're kind of assuming that people know that. So yeah, just making sure stuff like that's in the event pack. And I know a couple of people were unsure about voting most sporting, about halfway through the last round, but the trouble is that I've got to count it up and whatnot before everyone goes home. So I suppose the alternative is collecting them at the end of the game, and then that kind of adds like 10-15 minutes on whilst I count. So I think people would rather go home, and you kind of get a sense of what people are going to be like, halfway through a game. I think it's unlikely that things are going to substantially change. Yeah, but I hope you guys enjoyed just a sort of quick overview of how things went. And I think I am keen to host another one. I don't know when. I'm sort of thinking springtime. I think I might make the next one a GBHL 90, just because it took me a little while to shift the tickets for this one, and then when people dropped out, I really struggled to get replacements. Whereas I think with 90s, it's normally pretty easy because people want those yummy points. So I might do that. And to be honest, I think making it a 90 doesn't make it any less friendly, because people were very cool here and I don't think there were any issues. I know people like the 80s because they're more chill, but the lists were actually no more chill than I would expect at a 90, to be honest. So yeah, that might be something to look at next time. But on the feedback, I put down some options for what people want to see next time, and people were keen on another 400. So yeah, watch this space. I'll sort of see what I can do. But yeah, Cheers, guys. I will see you next time.